Hi, thank you for watching. I'm Glenn Morgan, reporting for We the Govern. 3 years ago, we did a story about an unlikely election result in the city of SeaTac, which is where the main airport is located just south of the city of Seattle. 4 local citizens, just average people, decided to run for office because they didn't like the direction the city was going. And despite the odds, despite the fact they were taking on incumbents and insiders and they were outspent 8-1, they managed to win their election. So we want to revisit 3 years later, now that they've been running the city and been in charge, how have they fared in the city of SeaTac?
When I tell people, especially other elected officials in other cities, that SeaTac was looking at about a $2.5 million deficit just 3 years ago, and today SeaTac is enjoying a $25 million surplus with no increase in taxes. People ask, how did you do that? You know, it's the holy grail of a lot of cities. They want to be able to improve services. They want to be able to not increase taxes. How can they do that?
There was a port officer who was on the council, and he was a nice guy. I liked him. And he would vote on issues where the port was involved. We're friends here. No. That's not the way it has to be. You have to recuse yourself.
They put a utility tax on the community without really telling people about it, and it was crushing people with fixed incomes and the senior citizens.
We moved into the community 12 years ago, and I just assumed that our local city council had our best interests at heart.
Even prior to us being sworn into office, we knew there were problems. The prior city council had essentially sabotaged us.
Of the 7 council members that are in SeaTac, 4 incumbents actually lost. So on the way out, they called special council meeting. And in one council meeting, the prior council removed the utility tax. So they repealed their own tax, which they had implemented 2 years ago.
They also denied the 1% property tax bump that is typically accepted. And then the third thing they did is they accepted a 2-year contract with the Port of Seattle that by rights we should have been able to negotiate.
I get in January and we're looking at a $2.5 million hole in the budget right off the bat. So all of a sudden, my priority shifted focus from code compliance and all this other stuff to, okay, what are we going to do with the finances of the city?
Any businessman who looked at that would have seen that there was a problem. If I was going to buy stock in the city, I wouldn't because of those graphs.
I really took a very practical approach from the beginning because the only experience I had with managing money was managing my own money.
Vouchers are essentially invoices for miscellaneous expenses, and they're almost rubber stamped approved. What Peter did that was so good was he realized that this was a leak in the system.
I had to sit down and review all of these vouchers, a stack of vouchers, bigger than 3 phone books that I had to go through page by page and get a real understanding of where the money was going. I found things like, well, why are we using 5 or 6 different printing companies and not just a single company and maybe get a better price? So the council agreed, put this out to a bid. None of the existing companies bid. If I remember, I don't think we chose the cheapest company. I think we chose the second one because they would deliver to City Hall the same day, which is even better service than what we were getting before. That ended up saving somewhere around 60% just off the top, which amounted to around maybe $150,000 a year, which is enough to pay for another full-time staff member.
We found a lot of things that the city probably shouldn't have been just paying for and accepting, and some of those just went away after we started questioning. The other thing is the city staff, because they knew that we were watching closely, they just didn't do them anymore.
The government is not in it to make money, that's obvious, but the government shouldn't be in it to lose money either, because if that happens, then the burden falls on the taxpayers. If a supermarket or a mall or any kind of store opens up and they're going to now generate 10,000 visitors every day to this one property, they have to pay a traffic impact fee, which the airport in the past hasn't paid. We thought that wasn't fair. We thought that, the airport should pay some percentage to be able to address the maintenance of the city streets. If somebody is using government facilities for private purposes, why not make sure that all of the costs are recovered?
It was clear that we had a different administration coming in, and the outlook was going to be different. A lot of people look for jobs elsewhere, and usually the first ones that leave are the ones that have the best resumes and are the highest paid. But oftentimes those are not really the people that are doing the work. And so when they leave, now all of a sudden your budget decreases because you don't have the high salaries that you have to pay, and the people that are actually doing the work kind of step up to do the job.
It all adds up. All of these hundreds of thousands of dollars here and there, you add them up to several dozens of contracts, and it goes into the millions.
Anyone could do this. You don't need a special skill set. If you look at requests for money and you don't say, what's this for? Well, then you're just giving a blank check out.
The new city council members are very conscientious of the money that they're spending on behalf of the citizens that they represent. They're not in this for the long term. They're citizens like you and I, coming from healthcare, food sales, Boeing, and so on.
I was fortunate in that I had worked for Boeing for many years, and Airbus was essentially eating our lunch when it came to Boeing. Airbus had taken over the majority share of the market at one point in time. Boeing got it back, and they did it through process improvement, quality control. I was there during all of that time going on. So when I ran for office and started seeing how things were run in SeaTac, it became very obvious that we were not doing things in a way that made us higher quality, lower cost, like what I saw happen at Boeing.
Public services has actually increased. So SeaTac is hiring more people. SeaTac has more money for public roadways and infrastructure with no increase in taxes. When I tell this to other council members, their eyes kind of glaze over because I can tell immediately they don't want to go sit down and go through a stack of paper invoices. Nobody wants to do that. It's hard work, right? But if you really want to figure out how to save money, that's what you have to do. It works.
So as you can see, regular citizens can run for local office, they can win, and they can actually do a very good job running their local government. All you have to have is the willingness to work hard, to pay attention, and use common sense. We don't need political insiders, we don't need special interests to run our cities. If they can do it in the city of SeaTac, they can do it where you live as well.